Hi everybody, thanks for watching my channel. Please help me grow my channel by subscribing, sharing, liking, and comment. A lot of you watch my content, so please subscribe. It's free and would help me a lot. With that said, enjoy today's story. The Nahual, Malevolent Transformation. In the quiet village of San Miguel, the moon hung low and full, casting its silvery glow upon cobblestone streets. It was a night like any other, yet for the villagers, a palpable tension spread through the air. Superstitions lingered like heavy mist, weaving through conversations about the Nahual, a dark spirit said to walk among them in human form and transform into animals under the cloak of night. Lucia had heard the stories since childhood. Taught by her abuela, the tales of transformation were intertwined with cautionary lessons. Her grandmother spoke of people from neighboring villages, transformed into ferocious beasts that prowled the night. "Do not stray into the dark, my child," she would say, eyes shining with both wisdom and fear. "For you may encounter the Nahual, hidden in plain sight." As Lucia grew, the tales faded into whispers, mere folklore to most. Life was demanding. She worked by day as a seamstress, stitching together dreams and desires for the townsfolk. Yet, at night, in her humble home, shadowed memories tugged at her thoughts. Her youngest sibling, Diego, had been missing for 2 weeks, the consequences of a dare gone horrifically awry. The search had yielded nothing, and the villagers, once supportive, now turned their backs in fear and suspicion. "Perhaps Diego met the Nahual," they murmured. "Perhaps he transformed." As the nights wore on, Lucia felt the heaviness of her heart lift slightly. She found solace in the lingering scent of lavender that Diego used to wear, something that reminded her of their laughter echoing through the village square. Still, dread simmered beneath her skin as the fateful night drew near, the evening of the full moon. The village elders had warned that peculiar things happened under a full moon. Animals behaved strangely, people too. Strange markings would appear on houses, symbols drawn in dust after the sun had set. The night felt charged with electricity, shadows stretching far beyond their origins. On the eve of the full moon, Lucia stood by her window, peering out, as a chilling wind swept through the streets. An uncanny silence enveloped San Miguel, the kind that pressed down on the soul. There were no chirps of crickets, no rustling leaves, only the sound of her rapid heartbeat echoing in her ears. Suddenly, a figure loomed close, a black dog with eyes as bright as embers, standing at the edge of the courtyard. Lucia's heart stopped. For a fleeting moment, she thought she recognized it as Diego's lost dog, Lobo. But then, Lobo had always been much larger, somehow devoid of this sinister presence. Something primal urged her to open the door, but she held herself back. Was this creature truly Lobo? Or was it the Nahual? She had heard tales of how Nahuals often took the forms of pets. "The more you investigate," her grandmother warned, "the deeper you sink into the shadows." Just then, out in the distance, a howl echoed, chilling Lucia to her core. It resonated with a deep despair, as though someone, or something, was calling for help. Clutching her shawl tightly around her shoulders, she could no longer tear her gaze from the creature that appeared momentarily fascinated by her mere presence. "Diego," she whispered, half hoping, half dreading that she might hear a response. The black dog cocked its head, its eyes unblinking, and in an instant, its form rippled, a surge of darkness engulfing it. Lucia's breath froze as before her stood a man, tall, with skin as pale as moonlight, dark hair cascading down like shadows. "Lucia," he breathed, the voice chilling her spine. It was Marco, her neighbor, one of the last men she had seen near Diego. Marco had always been kind, his smile a soothing balm for her worries. But something in his eyes glimmered devilishly, a hint of something sinister lurking behind that familiar facade. "Marco, what happened to Diego?" she managed to ask, a tremor in her voice. "Diego was too curious," he whispered, stepping closer, malice breeding between the syllables. "He tried to summon what he didn't understand. He thought he could befriend it, the creature of night." Tears threatened to spill from Lucia's eyes, but she held them back. "What did you do? Where is he?" He chuckled, a low, unsettling sound that slowly twisted into something nefarious. "The Nahual does not suffer fools lightly. He learned too late, and I showed him how to transform." Her heart raced, understanding seeping into her mind like a poison. Marco wasn't merely her neighbor, he was the Nahual. It surged over her, the realization that the monster had always been so close. A cruel echo of laughter danced into the night, and she felt the urge to flee consume her. "Lucia, join me," he beckoned, his voice smooth as silk yet soaked in dark honey. "Embrace the night with me. Together, we can rule the shadows." "No," she cried, forcing herself to step back. With every instinct screaming at her, she ran, fleeing from the man who had lulled her into a false sense of security. She darted through the streets of San Miguel, the world around her blurring into a cacophony of fear and disbelief. But the night was awakening, the shadows stretching out to grasp her as if they had a life of their own. Flickering lights illuminated the corners she hadn't considered. Marco, the Nahual, was gaining on her, the soft patter of paws striking the earth mixed with human footsteps. Driven by desperation, she dashed toward the old church in the village, a sanctuary of light. Inside, she could hear only the echo of her footfalls against the cold stone before a sudden commotion erupted. A flicker of instinct urged her to find solace in the flickering candles at the altar. She fell to her knees, whispering prayers for safety, for Diego. Just as the shadows loomed over her, Marco's form emerged, melding back into the dark, twisting into the shape of that morbid black dog. The transformation sparked her rage. "You will not take us," she screamed, and the candles flickered as if they understood her plea. Igniting a force that coursed through her veins, she hurled the offerings toward the beast, glowing shards of sanctity that lit the night with their purity. Sparks crackled in the air, enveloping Marco in a bright light, illuminating the creature he was. He howled, claws pounding against the stone. "You cannot escape me, Lucia." But with each prayer, Lucia felt a flicker of hope, a reminder of her grandmother's teachings. The spirit of Diego stirred within her thoughts, guiding her, freeing her from the grasp of the Nahual. "I will fight," she whispered fiercely, feeding the light that coursed through her body. In a blinding flash, the light enveloped Marco, and with a final anguished cry, he succumbed to the power of the divine. The shadows recoiled, the Nahual defeated, unraveling into threads of darkness until they vanished completely. The stillness returned to the church, the echoes of the night quieting to reverence. Lucia fell back, breathless, grounded once more in reality, pulled back from the edge of madness. She had reclaimed her night. Clutching a small piece of Diego's cloth, she vowed to honor both the lost and the fragile peace that had been restored. In her heart, a new understanding blossomed, a knowledge that darkness never really dies, but that strength thrives in love, community, and the whispers of those gone too soon. It lingers in the shadows forevermore.